Hello, my name is Marva Ward, and I'm the National Product Educator for the Now brand of supplements in Canada. Today I'm going to talk about immune function, overall immune support that you can look for in supplemental form. The immune system. The immune system is a complex and integrative system of cells, tissue, and organs, and it recognizes foreign invaders as well as abnormal cells and distinguishes them from self, and has a very complex system on how to destroy these invaders or these abnormal cells. We see this with all types of disease. The immune system, we have a number of different organs that support the immune system: tonsils and adenoids, lymph nodes, lymph tissue, and we have lymph tissue in the form of pyrosplashes, if you can see noted here in the small intestine. The appendix, it was once thought the appendix was a wasted organ, but of course we know there are no wasted organs, and the appendix carry a backup supply of good bacteria in the event of profound sickness or illness. Bone marrow, white blood cells are start off in the bone marrow in some cases, and I'll speak about that. And then they go to the thymus gland for maturation, or to mature. Lymphatic tissue throughout the body as well supports immune function, and the spleen, and a number of other different aspects of our immunity, which I'll speak about today. Human beings, we have two different types of immune systems. We have a non-specific or an innate immunity. This is an immediate response to foreign invaders. This is what we're born with, basically, this innate immunity. There's no memory, no immune memory per se. It's humoral and cell-mediated responses. So this can be within the cell that the response is, or humoral, which is in body fluid and serum. It's found in all life forms. The acquired immunity, adaptive, specific immunity, is pathogen and antigen specific. So there is a lag time between the response and between the exposure and the reaction. This is immune. You have an immunological memory that is created from that particular pathogen or bacteria or virus. This is antibody related as well, cell-mediated and humoral response, and found only in jawed vertebrates. The two immune systems, innate and adaptive, work together in order to keep us healthy. The innate, or the immediate response, rapid response, and the adaptive and the slow response. What you're seeing here is an example of all the white blood cells that are responsible for our immune system. Everything from macrophage to basophils, neutrophils. I'll speak quite a lot about these as we carry on. The T cells, natural killer cells, are in both the adaptive and the innate immunity, and your B cells and T cells are specific to the adaptive immunity that create antibodies. The B cells form in the blood, in the bone marrow, and the T cells mature in the thymus gland. So humoral is antibody mediated. Complementary proteins and certainly antimicrobial peptides are found outside of the cell in the bodily fluids or the serum. Where cell-mediated are all of your different types of white blood cells, activation of phagocytes and cytotoxic lymphocytes, T lymphocytes, which I'm going to speak a lot about the different white blood cells and how they work and where they're working, and really to what capacity as we carry on. These cell-mediated are utilized in both immune systems. The innate defenses, this gives another more of a pictorial. Innate defenses are surface barriers, the skin, mucosal membranes. Internal defenses, phagocytes, fever, Fever is even an example of our immune system. Natural killer cells, antimicrobial proteins, which I talked about in the humoral aspect of the body. And inflammation is another example of innate defenses. Adaptive defenses are your humoral immunity for your B cells and your cellular immunity for your T cells. White blood cells, although white blood cells they all are nucleated, they are really distinct in form and function. There's two classifications, myeloid leukocytes and lymphocytes, and I'm going to speak a little bit more about that as well. Simply giving you an idea of the vast array of white blood cells that we have that make up our immune system. The myeloid lineage includes neutrophils, monocytes, basophils, etc. And the lymphocytes are our T cells, our B cells, and our natural killer cells. All of these which I'll speak quite a bit about today. Neutrophils, I believe neutrophils really are the largest amount of white blood cells in the human body. They last a few days, a few hours to a few days, and they target bacteria and fungi. And you'll see that the enzophil targets larger parasites, modulates the allergic reaction and the inflammatory response. Basophils target histamine and the inflammatory response as well. Lymphocytes are your B, T, and natural killer cells, again giving you information on B cells releasing antibodies to assist in T cells activating and regulating both T and B cells. Virus infection and tumor cells, because we have to realize as well that our immune system is there to destroy invading bacteria and pathogens, but also in destroying irregular cells that start to form, tumor cells, etc. And then monocytes, which are macrophages that engulf and digest. I'm going to show a picture of a macrophage that does this and how it works. And then there's Kupffer cells, again, in the liver, breaking down red blood cells involved in the liver's response to infection. So here's your white blood cell distribution. Your basophils, eosinophils, and the monocytes. As you can see, it's the neutrophils that we have the most amount of. Although their lifespan is very short, where the lymphocytes, the lifespan is a lot longer. We don't have as many, but we have more than the rest of the distribution. I talked about the macrophage. This is a specialized white blood cell that responds to invading pathogens by engulfing it and using the pro-inflammatory cytokines, which is an inflammatory protein. These, when used properly, when all of this is used properly, you have an invader that's destroyed through engulfing it, but also through the exposure to the inflammatory cytokines. But when the body becomes over-inflammatory, it is typically the pro-inflammatory cytokines that are often part of the instigators. Preventative medicine kills return business. This is the first day of med school that they're taught. And quite frankly, if we're going to address boosting our immune system through nutrients versus other options, that you're looking at a win-win situation every time. And really, that's what I'm going to talk to you today about, is multivitamins and all types of vitamins and minerals and probiotics and how they work. And I'm going to be very specific on how they work as well, based on evidence-based studies. The intestinal epithelium and biofilms of probiotics form a continuous physical barrier that protects the internal environment of the body. But it certainly isn't just a barrier. It has some very active involvement in the efficacy of our immune system. In the gut, you have lactobacillus and bifidobacteria, dozens of strains within each genus. Prominent in the small intestine is the lactobacillus, and in the bowel is the bifidobacterium. I would say primarily. Properties: they reduce risk factor for disease, improve efficacy of metabolic functions. We'll speak a bit more about that as well. Functions of probiotics specific to immune support: they stimulate T and B cells. Majority of immune cells are created in the gut, and they remain in the gut. If we think about Peyer's patches, T and B cells are created there as well. Produce anti-tumor and antiviral and antifungal substances. Manufacturing B vitamins and the utilization of vitamins and minerals. So not only are they working directly with immune cells, white blood cells, but they're also providing substance to ensure that our immunity is working at its peak by the utilization of vitamins and minerals. The more good bacteria you have, it crowds out bad bacteria, just like bad bacteria will crowd out good bacteria. So it can prevent the overgrowth of candida. It destroys E. coli and Shigella, which causes diarrhea, and salmonella. It aids in peristalsis, which is absolutely imperative in both small and large intestine. And it helps to use things like indole-3-carbinol and sulforaphane from cruciferous and fermented vegetables as anti-cancer agents. It decreases side effects of pharmacy antibiotic therapy, as we know. The origin of bacterial strains in the human gastrointestinal tract show that there's no guarantee or precondition of its performance as a probiotic. For a probiotic strain to be successful, it has to fulfill certain requirements that manufacturers like ourselves look for and basically seek out prior to preparing and making our own formulas. The efficacy of the strain: it must be safe. It must be clinically proven and acid resistant. In our case, we choose acid resistant strains over enteric-coated strains simply because of efficacy and safety, in our opinion. Should have good technical properties, be able to survive in the final consumption, and it should not have an overpowering taste or smell. It must adhere to the gastrointestinal epithelium and procreate, really reproduce, have antimicrobial substances, and be proven to modulate the host's immune response and metabolism. Each probiotic strain has its own specific health benefit, and no probiotic elicits all of the health benefits proposed by probiotics in general. And this is why you're looking for the largest strain and the most amount of bacterial count in a probiotic to try to ensure repopulation in the gut. We have a probiotic 10, 25 billion, and a 50 billion. I'm showing you the 25 billion right now. It's non-GMO, dairy-free, guaranteed vegetarian, vegan, 25 billion count, and 10 strain. The proprietary blend of 10 strains of this probiotic: Lactobacillus acidophilus, Plantarum, Rhamnosus, Pericaceae, Cassia, Salvarius, Bifidobacterium lactis, Longium, and Brev, as well as Streptococcus thermophilus. So a beautiful 10 strain. It also it contains FOS as well as a prebiotic. Vitamin D and its function for immunity and the mechanisms are astounding. Vitamin D initially only thought to help us with the absorption and utilization of calcium has now over the past 15 years shown to be a powerhouse of a nutrient. An antioxidant, it reduces oxidative stress and free radical damage. It works as an anti-inflammatory because it modulates the immune and inflammation systems that regulate the production of inflammatory cytokines. It inhibits the proliferation of pro-inflammatory cells as well, because keep in mind, one of the big issues with overactive immune system is inflammatory response, and this is primarily what vitamin D will help to regulate. It modulates the immune system, including the monocytes, macrophage, dendrite cells, T lymphocytes and B sites. I'll talk about the T lymphocytes and the natural killer cells as well. And hence it modulates both our innate and adaptive immunity responses simply by targeting various white blood cells and making them more effective. Vitamin D's mechanism of action in combating infection led Science News to suggest that it really has an antibiotic effect due to primarily its robust effect on our innate immunity. And vitamin D deficiency predispositions children to respiratory infections, and many studies have shown this as well. Vitamin D is crucial in activating natural killer cells. This was a Copenhagen study in 2010. And until then, it wasn't realized that your natural killer cells, which are the Rambo cells of our immune system, are not activated unless vitamin D is available to access. And this is quite alarming because they are one of the strongest white blood cells and our strongest defense, but they are completely benign if there's not enough vitamin D to activate them. Vitamin D, as I'd mentioned, downregulates the pro-inflammatory cytokines. This is said, because it does this so effectively, it says that it very well might be one of the ways to fend off autoimmune disease, such as type 1 diabetes. Many studies have shown this to be a possibility. Manfred Eggersdorf said a large body of evidence demonstrates the emerging role of vitamin D, protecting the population against different types of cancers. Here he spoke about lung, colon, and breast cancers. Here is just showing you an incidence of reported cold influenza symptoms according to season, based on a placebo group and a group using 800 IUs of vitamin D per day. And if you look to the far left of this graph, you're going to see that the winter episodes of influenza and colds were much higher in the placebo group versus the group that were taking 800 IUs of vitamin D per day. Now has a number of different options for vitamin D, everything from 400 IUs to 1,000 IUs in gels to chewables, liquid drops in 100 IUs, which is our children's version, and 1,000 IUs in a 30 ml bottle that, if you're taking 1,000 a day, could last you over 2 years. We also have a vegan D2 1,000 IUs vitamin D and a D3 with K2. Now, if we take a little bit of time to speak about what the proper dosing, globally, you're looking at health groups recommending 400 to 800 IUs of vitamin D per day as the recommended dosing. However, just recently there was an article that was published based on a study that was conducted with the European Union and China, actually. This study suggests that the recommendations for vitamin D were based on faulty mathematics, and that instead of recommending 800 IUs per day, based on this revised correct mathematical formation or formula that people should be taking 8,000 IUs per day and not 800. And you certainly know that within the naturopathic community that it's recommended people are taking much more than 1,000 IUs per day. And even the medical community, people who are recovering from cancer, is recommended to be taking 2,000 to 3,000 per day. Vitamin C and immunity. Vitamin C protects the body cells against reactive oxygen species, or ROS. This is generated by the immune cells. This is another way with which our white blood cells kill pathogens. We use toxicity based on free radicals, reactive oxygen species. Now we have antioxidants that we make in the body, and we also rely on antioxidants from our food that protect us against ROS so that the pathogens can be killed, but our cells aren't killed, and our immunity remains strong. This is the primary role of vitamin C. The vitamin affects several components of innate and adaptive immunity. Vitamin C stimulates both the production and function of leukocytes, different white blood cells, neutrophils, lymphocytes, and phagocytes. Specific measures of function are stimulated by vitamin C. Several studies have shown that supplemental vitamin C increases serum levels of antibodies. Now has an abundance of vitamin C, everything from 500 milligrams with rose hips as the bioflavonoids to alpha-zorb C, that is vitamin C that's coupled with alpha-lipoic acid, allowing the vitamin C to remain longer in the body. We have a number of different vitamin C in powdered form as well, making it very, very economical. Zinc deficiency and immunity. Innate immunity. Zinc deficiency impairs the complement system. The cytotoxicity of our natural killer cells, the phagocytic activity of the neutrophils and the macrophages. It impairs the immune cell's ability to generate oxidants that kill invading pathogens. I talked about the reactive oxygen species. Without zinc, we have a really difficult time in generating these oxidants. That's a very important part of our immunity. The adaptive immunity, it supports lymphocyte number and function. It plays a crucial role in the antioxidant enzyme, the CUZN superoxide dismutase. Superoxide dismutase is one of our key antioxidants that protects us against reactive oxygen species. And the CUZN is an enzyme that is dependent on zinc to be able to be created and ultimately to create superoxide dismutase. Reduced activation of zinc-dependent enzymes and transcription factors, which plays a huge role in reducing our immune system's efficacy. And decreased activity of the thymolin. This is a zinc-dependent hormone in the thymus gland that's important for T cell and the maturation of B cell into T cells. Zinc, we have many different types of zinc. It's recommended that you don't take more than 50 milligrams of zinc per day. So if you're taking a multivitamin and you want to increase your zinc consumption to 50 milligrams a day, just simply minus or subtract the amount of zinc that you're taking from your multivitamin, and then you would take the appropriate zinc on its own. Picolinate, said to be very bioavailable. Certainly biglycinate, it is an amino acid chelate, allowing it to be digested and utilized even on an empty stomach. Different types of zinc with different levels of milligram count, and all of which are profoundly absorbable in the human body. Selenium deficiency impairs aspects of innate immunity as well as the adaptive immunity adversely, profoundly adversely, affecting both humoral and cell-mediated immunity. Selenium deficiency appears to enhance the virulence and the progression of some viral infections as well as disease. Selenium-containing antioxidants play important roles in immunity and inflammation. One, for example, is glutathione peroxidase. This particular enzyme is responsible for the production of glutathione, which is our number one antioxidant, and particularly for the liver, and protects the liver, allows our body to work more effectively. Selenium-dependent enzymes are selenoproteins, glutathione peroxidase being one of them, important redox regulators and cellular antioxidants, reduces the damage, again, of reactive oxygen species. Hydrogen peroxide and lipid hydroperoxides are examples of ROS. These roles have implications in immune function as well as cancer prevention. Taken from Life Extension magazine, this is a fantastic account how selenium acts by multiple complementary pathways to prevent cancers from developing. So here there's 12 mechanisms with which have been listed that show its effect in fending off the onset of cancer. Regulation of lipogenesase enzymes that produce inflammatory molecules, direct reduction of oxidative stress, protection of antioxidant recycling, the selenoproteins, detoxification of cancer-induced metals, the induction of protective phase 2 liver enzymes that neutralize organic carcinogenic toxins. Basically, it helps with liver detoxification. Inhibiting of DNA alterations, precursors that initiate cancerous changes, inactivation of molecule transcription factors required by cancer cells to support their growth and development. Number 8, shutting down of the essential cell replication cycle that's needed by cancer. The induction of apoptosis, cell death. This is missing in cancer cells. And so selenium really promotes this programmed cell death. It's a natural feature of all normal cells. And without proper levels of selenium, it may be one of the contributing factors that allows cancer cells to grow and continue growing. Enhanced immune system and the downregulation of reproductive hormone receptors. Let's think specifically about estrogen. So this is the downregulation of these hormone receptors that are used by certain cancers to sustain growth. Limiting the effects of tumor invasion and metastasizing. And I think it's really interesting in one particular cancer clinic in Markham that the oncologists, individuals who are recovering from cancer, for the first couple of months that they're recovering, the oncologists are recommending 800 micrograms of selenium per day, and after 2 months reducing it to 200 micrograms. Typically one takes only 200 micrograms and no more of selenium, but it is shown through research and through study that because it eliminates the effects of tumor invasion and metastasizing, that this very well might be one of the reasons these oncologists are recommending this at the very beginning of their cancer treatment and therapy. Selenium we have in 200 micrograms. They're all yeast-free. We also have it in 100 micrograms as well. Astaxanthin in immunity, considered the most potent free radical scavenger. It reduces inflammatory markers by quenching reactive oxygen species. It lowers C-reactive protein, and C-reactive protein is one of the inflammatory markers that is said leads to cardiovascular disease and the onset of other diseases as well. Protects cell and mitochondrial membrane from oxidative damage, dramatically decreases DNA damage, boosts the immune system through increasing the number of antibody-producing cells, white blood cells, and it stimulates the immune system by increasing the total number of T cells as well. It inhibits tumor invasion by decreasing extracellular matrix production, and it induces apoptosis as well. So, and anti-inflammatory, as well. Astaxanthin we have in 4 milligram and in 10 milligram. Astaxanthin is microalgae, basically derived from microalgae. Recommended therapeutic dose of astaxanthin is around 12 milligrams 12 milligrams a day, and maintenance on astaxanthin 4 to 8 milligrams a day has been shown to be profoundly effective as an antioxidant as well as an anti-inflammatory. CoQ10, as specific to the immune system, increases the production of IgG antibodies, increases T and B cell production, and it reduces age-related atrophy of the thymus gland, downregulates inflammatory signaling, and increases innate immunity by increasing macrophage, white blood cell activity. Beta-1316-D-glucans are derived from the cellulose in plants, the bran of cereal grains, cell wall of baker's yeast, and certain fungi, mushrooms, and bacteria. We know that this is one of the key components in mushrooms that is said to be helps with the immunity. Scientific studies have shown that beta-glucan supports healthy immune function through its ability to stimulate macrophage activity, and it's the macrophage that do the engulfing and also the inflammatory response to bacteria and viruses. Our beta-1,3-glucan is provided by a synergistic base of maitake mushrooms. 100 milligrams, 1 VCAP daily is recommended. Giving you some studies on beta-glucans simply to show some of the efficacy in print and certainly in publication. Mushrooms and immune support. The use of polysaccharides from mushrooms helps boost an individual's immunity. Studies indicate that single mushrooms and mushroom complexes are profoundly effective in a number of different ways in supporting the immune system. Inhibit pathogenic immune functions in autoimmune disorders, reducing histamine release associated with allergic reactions, increase antibody productions, stimulate and increase T cells and interleukin production, promote phagocytosis of peritoneal macrophage. And what that means is that it promotes the engulfing of bacteria in the peritoneal area, which is a space, a fluid space that is between the wall of the abdomen and our organs. And so when bacteria accumulates in that area, it promotes, mushrooms are said to promote phagocytes to devour and engulf, and the macrophages as well. It helps to fight off viruses and tumors. We have an Immune Renew product. It is a blend of organic mushrooms, 8 different species, enhancements of T cells and natural killer cells activity. It also includes standardized astragalus, and astragalus is also known for its effect in enhancing the T cells and natural killer cell activity. There's 200 milligrams per capsule of astragalus. The Immune Renew contains turkey tails, sun mushroom, maitake, cordyceps, Philenius linteus, lion's mane, reishi, and shiitake. We can't talk about mushrooms effect and not mention AHCC. It really is a marvel for all of us as human beings. The active hexose correlated compound is a proprietary extract produced from specially cultivated and hybridized mushrooms that include shiitake. This is a product of Japan, and it has been used for decades there for everything from cancer to many different types of illnesses. Extensive human research. AHCC enhances macrophage and natural killer cells activity. It supports normal levels of macrophage and cytokines, further strengthening the immune system. And I've given you a URL that speaks to this, and specific from a Toronto publication. I think what's most exciting is recently in 2015, they completed a study that showed that AHCC eradicated HPV virus in 6 out of 10 women. And the 4 women where it did not eradicate the virus, they were continuing with the ongoing treatment of AHCC. It was 3,000 milligrams of AHCC a day for 6 months, and as I say, 6 out of the 10 women eradicated HPV. Pretty remarkable. These are ongoing studies that are being done as well to replicate and duplicate them in order to really come out and say that that's precisely what AHCC will do. Simply in order to raise the activity of your white blood cells, and particularly over the winter months, it's recommended 2 VCAPs daily and taken to, once again, just to simply work as a preventative and in increasing the activity of your immune system. Omega-3 fatty acids are anti-inflammatory. Immune enhancement has shown that they have a positive effect on the function of B cells, specifically DHA. EPA and DHA are immune modulators through their anti-inflammatory action and white blood cell proliferation. I've given you 3 here. I love our Omega Minis, 500 milligrams in a small gel, easy to swallow, and the Omega-3 1,000 milligrams as well. We use mackerel, sardines, and anchovy in all of our fish oil. I think it's important to talk about methylation, because methylation and proper methylation activates gene expression, or it doesn't activate it. So inappropriate methylation due to hyper or hypomethylation will trigger gene expression that you do not want to trigger. Onset of cancer, heart disease, different types of heart disease. Here I have hypermethylation. When you are over-methylating, there have been several studies that have shown that EGCGs will regulate that over-methylation activation in the body, or will regulate it anyway. Hypomethylation, not enough, which is typically what society suffers from, often is a result of high homocysteine levels and low folic acid, B12 and B6, because the methylation cycle is unable to complete because of low folic acid, B12 and B6. The nutrients that are required for methylation cycle would be methionine, SAMe, that type of a thing. However, what's more important is folic acid, B12 and B6. Honorable mentions: vitamin A. It's necessary for the generation of antibodies responding to specific antigens. And vitamin A helps to maintain the structure and functional integrity of the mucosal cells, the adaptive immunity, the T and B cells, and the generation of antibody responses to antigens. Vitamin E is a powerful free radical scavenger, and we could speak for hours on how it works, but it protects the integrity of the cell membranes from damage from free radicals. Magnesium, it reduces the inflammatory response, and it promotes cell apoptosis or death. Supplements for this presentation that one would certainly consider are certainly on slide number 52, everything from our vitamin D to our mushroom complexes, to our zinc and our astaxanthin, and of course liquid multi. Giving you a little bit of a protocol that might help over the winter months to help with immunity and boost your white blood cell count are, anytime you see an asterisk, it's with reference to when you would take this particular nutritive. Just a reminder about Now Productology. This is exclusive to Now retailers. 60-minute trainings on a number of different subjects, everything from amino acids to xylitol. I think currently we have 30 to 35 different subjects, and these are free and exclusive to Now retailers. To register, it's the top URL on the right-hand side, and then for ongoing access to the courses, it's the bottom URL. Thank you very much for joining me today. Have a wonderful day.